Hey there, fellow adult collectors. Welcome back. David Eon here with something up from the museum archives. Something up from the Open by Chance Museum, and this is the Mego. Any big Mego fans out there? I love vintage Mego myself. But what you're looking at here are the Laverne and Shirley figures. Or, more to the point, these are more dolls than they are action figures, which were sold in 2-packs. Obviously, I've never seen these in individual packaging. I have only ever seen these in 2-packs, and usually the packaging is in pretty bad condition. These two examples aren't that bad. The Lenny and Squiggy looks a little faded out, but that's just the positioning of the lighting. They were pink boxes, and these are 12.5-inch dolls, if you will. Mego made a 12.5-inch style. There's Lenny and Squiggy, mint in their boxes. And unfortunately, I cannot slide these out because these boxes are sealed. It says 12-inch posable. They're a little taller than 12 inches. If you know anything about like the Mego Buck Rogers or Star Treks or anything, they usually average out to about 12.5 inches. There's Laverne and Shirley. And I gotta say, not trying to be funny, these are probably some of the ugliest dolls that Mego ever produced. That does not look anything like Penny Marshall. That's a terrible likeness. But of course, that's supposed to be Penny Marshall and Cindy Williams. And then over here, you have Michael Mckean and David Lander as Lenny and Squiggy. And I wanted to share these with you here today, as well as my Harmony, and you might have seen this on Instagram just recently, or on our Facebook, Open by Chance on Instagram, and we also have a Facebook group, my Laverne and Shirley bowling kit by Harmony, and I think this was made in 1978, I want to say, based on the TV series. It's just a little child's silly bowling kit with a little button there and a fuzzy photograph from right off of the television. And I just thought that was pretty cool right here. $1.29 plus tax for this. This is, you know, typical dollar store kind of prize. Something that you would get for the kid to shut him up. I love my TV character stuff. Look at the original price on this thing. Get a close up. This still has the price tag. $8.99. Come on, $9 adventure for this 2-pack. Now, Laverne and Shirley, of course, Laverne and Shirley ran from 1976 to 1984, and these were produced early in 1977 by Mego. And here's the info right there. 1977, early in 77. So 1976 to 1984 for 8 seasons, and it was a spin-off of Happy Days. And actually got better ratings than Happy Days did. It's one of the few examples of a show spinning off from another show and doing better. Although Happy Days had a lot of spin-offs, believe it or not, if you know anything about the legacy of Happy Days and spin-offs. Happy Days itself was a spin-off of sketch comedy that was done on a show called Love America Style. But then Happy Days spun off Mork and Mindy. Yes, Mork and Mindy. Mork appeared as Mork the Alien on Happy Days. So Mork and Mindy the animated series, Saturday morning cartoon. The less said about that, the better. Fonzie, or Fonz, and the Happy Days Gang, which was another cartoon, sci-fi oriented, where they were in a time machine. So it's kind of like Doctor Who, or rather The Lost Saucer meets Happy Days. Joni Loves Chachi. Out of the Blue, a rarely known spin-off. Let me go ahead and turn these around so you can start looking at the other parts of the boxes. The edge doesn't show too much here. But Out of the Blue, which featured an angel who appeared on the show, an actual angel. Blanksy's Beauties, which is another very rarely known 70s sitcom that spun off. And Wait Till Your Father Gets Home. Now you'll notice that they really don't give too much love to Lenny and Squiggy. I mean, it says Lenny and Squiggy on the bottom of the box, But aside from that, the boxes themselves are completely identical. And you can tell that looking even in the back of the box, where it just shows Laverne and Shirley, with love, Laverne and Shirley. See? There's no with love Lenny and Squiggy on Lenny and Squiggy's box, because Mego cut a lot of corners with the boxes, and indeed routinely cut corners with all of their packaging. Mego was very cheap with the packaging where and when they could be. Which, you know, I get it. It's just a cheap toy for kids. They weren't trying to spend a fortune and redraw and rewrite everything over and over again. Let me go ahead and turn this around again. One of the best parts of this for me is the artwork, which of course is Mort Drucker's work, obviously. Mort Drucker, most famously known for his work with Mad Magazine. If you have read any vintage Mad magazines, you have seen this style many times. That is Mort Drucker's work, who did a lot more than just Mad Magazine, but that's what he's best known for. He did a lot of poster work too for movies like the Animal House movie. I know he did the work for. His drawing style was always fun, his kind of caricatures there. A little trivia for you about Michael Mckean there. If you watched like Batman The Dark Knight Rises, or was that the name of it, with the Joker, with Heath Ledger playing the Joker? People really loved Heath Ledger and thought his Joker adaptation was so original. I invite you to look up Star Trek Voyager, an episode called The Thaw. The Thaw, in 1996, that guest starred Michael Mckean as a psychotic clown in a virtual reality program. Watch that episode and watch his mannerisms and his attitude and even his voice, and compare it to Heath Ledger's Joker, and you might be shocked. Just saying. Just saying, folks. Anyway, despite the fact that these are probably some of the ugliest things that Mego ever produced back in the day, I cannot get over that Wicked Witch of the West looking Penny Marshall there. I'm amazed that she even let this go through. I mean, even like, look at her profile. That is not an attractive doll. And as I pointed out, these were shelf warmers, and many of you Mego collectors out there may not want to admit a lot of what Mego produced was shelf warmers. A lot of this stuff didn't sell. That's a whole other topic of discussion, because I know that people are going to make the argument of, oh, well, you know, after Star Wars, Mego jumped on every contract they could get. These were produced before Star Wars, as was most of their shelf warmers. They were doing that long before the whole fiasco with Star Wars. That was a habit that Mego had been in, which I pointed out in previous videos. It makes sense now that there's an adult collector's market, but back then, nobody wanted that stuff. Nobody wanted Happy Days action figures. Nobody wanted Our Gang. It didn't make any sense. Kids weren't after that. But now that there's an adult market, it makes sense. But even now, Mego's kind of producing some shelf warmers out there. But like I said, that's another topic of discussion. Did you used to watch this show? These are in particularly good condition because of the flaps. You can see that there's like a little bit of creasing coming through here, but these flaps are pretty much unfolded. They're still pretty rigid, and that's a huge problem with these, with Mego, with Kenner, with Mattel. Kenner particularly, it's a huge problem with flaps being folded over. This one barely even has a crease. This one has a very mild crease, but again does not really affect the rigidity of the cardboard, which I very much appreciate that it's intact that way, or as intact as it is. Usually you don't see these in this kind of condition. Usually they're beat up pretty bad, or the cellophane windows yellowed out, or something else. And with the females, often you see melt marks on the shoulders. That's a very common problem. melt marks on shoulders and on hips with female Mego dolls because of the type of plastic that was used. Did you used to watch this show? I've seen this as a child in syndication, on like a UHF station. I've probably seen every episode of Laverne and Shirley like 20 times when I was a kid. I haven't seen it in years and years, but I've seen it so many times as an adult. Actually, on the guys, there's a much better likeness here of the male characters than Mego did on the female characters. That looks a bit more like, it's still kind of rudimentary, but it looks a bit more, trying to get the light just right, like Lenny and Squiggy, than does the other two look like Laverne and Shirley. Don't know why that is, but it is what it is. Did you used to watch this show? Do you remember that? Do you remember these figures? Or dolls, I guess. I had to go ahead and just suck it up and call them dolls, especially with the way they're jointed. Did you have these? Or do you remember them? Do you have them now? You can tell me about all of that in the comments section down below and share with the other viewers, share with the community. Do you remember this or toys like it? How they would kind of merchandise by buying the likenesses to damn near anything and putting it on something silly like a bowling set. Although they did bowl on the show. They did bowl on the show, I'll give them that much. Tell me about your thoughts and about your experiences in the comments section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got something out of it. I hope that you did. Share it if you can. Subscribe if you're new. Check out some of our other videos. We do a lot on this channel. I like doing the vintage showcases. I like showing things like this that people may not have seen before or might not remember very well, And we also do a lot of other things on this channel that is toy and action figure and comic book and just in general nostalgia related. So check out some of our other videos. You may find something you like, and I hope that you do. So that being said, what more can I say? But thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon.